Peacemaker, episode 5, Monkey Dory. It's your boy. These titles just get weirder and weirder. It's your boy Icon with some DC TV, and the peace is back, baby. The fight for peace continues. And in our last episode, we saw that Peacemaker was home crying his eyes out over thinking about the situation that happened with his brother. And we still don't know the story about that, but I guess we'll get that eventually. So now this episode starts. He's in his house. He's trying to get himself together. He still has the butterfly trapped in a jar, and he was actually feeding it honey. He goes to the office. Everybody shows up at the office. The whole gang is at the office. And Adebayo had basically discovered the hideout location of the honey that the butterflies tend to eat. He said that, Murr was, he was hosting the, we found out that Murr was a butterfly. He was, he was hosting the meeting. And then he said that, we need to find out how this, this honey is being processed, where it's being processed to, because then we can maybe get a sense of like, their base of operations and how they operate in their network. So the whole team goes down there. Now, Chris is still upset. He's still upset with the white dude. I forgot the white dude name, the big dude with the glasses. But Chris is upset with him because he's still mad at him for framing his dad and putting his dad in prison. So, but the two of them, ended up going back and forth. There was this really over dramatic, like comedic scene because he had asked him, because he was just like, oh, who was I supposed to frame besides your dad? And then Peacemaker basically named every single person on the planet. I mean, it was funny for like the first 5 people. Then he just kept going. I was just like, all right, bro, like, we get it. But the two of them got over it because they bonded over their love for a specific rock band. And then, then all was well. So they all get down to, they get down to the warehouse where everything is. Like Vigilante wanted to go in. He wanted to use a chainsaw. Hardcore was like, no. Peacemaker wanted to use like the big guns. And then she was like, no, but he brought him anyway. He also brought a brand new helmet. It was one of the helmets that he picked up when he went to his dad's house in a previous episode. But he never said, well, Hardcore had asked him. She was like, what's with the new helmet? But he didn't get a chance to answer that question because something happened and everybody ended up splitting up. So now here's where it got, like this is the point where the surprise was like literally out of the bag. So he has this brand new helmet. And they basically, like Hardcore and Adebayo basically drew straws to see who gets to go to Vigilante. And Hardcore lost, so she gets to go to Vigilante. And Adebayo ends up going with Peacemaker. Now, there was plenty of opportunities for Peacemaker to tell the team what the helmet was for. He could have easily said, like, hey, I got a new helmet. It has X-ray vision, and I can see inside people's heads to see if they're a butterfly. That type of information would have actually come in handy as far as the team knowing he can see who's a butterfly and who isn't. Because they were saying that when they go into the building, they're not going to know if somebody's like a butterfly or not. So he keeps that information to himself, and then they go into the building. Now, this was actually pretty funny. Adebayo says to him, she's like, listen, when we go inside the building, she's like, let me do all the talking and I'll smooth things over with everybody. So Adebayo and Peacemaker goes in, she sees the woman at the front desk, and then she's just like, hi, ma'am, how are you? Then the lady at the front desk, she's like, oh, how can I help you? Bow! Peacemaker blew this chick's brains out. And I actually, like, when that happened, I actually jumped off the couch because that shit came out of nowhere. But the helmet has X-ray vision, and he used the X-ray vision, and he saw that girl was a butterfly. He also killed like 2 other people that was in the room, and then Adebayo was the only person. She was just like, oh, you can see them? He said, yeah. He said the helmet has X-ray vision, and I can see who's a butterfly. Now, at that moment, they had radioed in because the white dude with the glasses, he was in a truck outside monitoring the situation. That would have been the moment to tell him, hey, by the way, Chris can see butterflies because his helmet has X-ray vision, and there's a whole bunch of them in there. I don't know why that didn't come up. Like it never got brought up. But the thing about it is, because Adebayo was the only person he told that to, and he had plenty of opportunity to tell everyone else. I mean, him and Vigilante are cool, so to speak. He could have told Vigilante that. It never came up to anybody that his helmet had X-ray vision. And I thought it was very weird that Adebayo was the only person that he told that to. So as soon as he said to Adebayo, like, yeah, the helmet has X-ray vision, I can see butterflies, I stopped and I was just like, so basically Adebayo's going to put the helmet on and she's going to find out Murr's a butterfly. Like, that was like the worst kept secret of all time. So they're in the thing, they're in the warehouse. He's blowing up butterflies. Chris is killing butterflies, shooting everything, is fighting for peace or whatever. Hardcore and Vigilante, They start fighting a bunch of butterflies. They get trapped in a room. And then when they get trapped in a room, a gorilla shows up. And I was just like, well, that's odd. Why is there a gorilla here? And then Peacemaker and Adebayo, they go into the same room. Now all four of them, they're fighting this big ass gorilla. They're getting their ass whipped by a gorilla. And then the gorilla started talking. And I'm just like, is this a Grodd situation? Like, do we have a gorilla from, from the village of gorillas? I was just like, so like if it turned out that Grodd, or even the humanoid, like the ultra humanoid, I was just like, are we going in that territory? But then we later find out that we're not, because they said later on that the butterflies can take over any organic things. It's not just humans. They can take over animals as well. And then they did say that they pulled a butterfly from the gorilla's brain. But the way that they got to that point of killing the gorilla, the white dude came out of the van and he used the chainsaw to basically kill the gorilla, and he put the chainsaw right through the gorilla's chest. So he killed the gorilla. Apparently there was a butterfly in the gorilla's head, but they never said the butterfly being in his head, they never said that was the reason why the gorilla could talk. It could actually still be a humanoid or a gorilla Grodd situation. We don't know, because did the gorilla have telepathic like power? Was the gorilla able to talk before or after the butterfly? So that's an interesting question that we might find out later on down the line. So then the whole team, like, they're celebrating. They're just like, oh, we took down the warehouse. We busted up the warehouse where the butterflies, manufactured their honey. We downloaded their computers with all their information. They bring everything back to Murr, and Murr's just like, all right, guys, good job. Tomorrow we'll go over all this information and see what we can find. But for now, everybody go home and get some rest. Then Murr had a conversation with this one dude, this weird white dude. He ended up coming in and the two of them spoke, but we never found out what they spoke about. But he did say he had to take care of the white dragon situation. The Asian cop, she was having a conversation with her partner. And then when the two of them spoke to, to Chris's dad, he told them, he said, listen, the fingerprints don't match. You got to retake the fingerprints. And then she was like, who would want to frame you with the fingerprints? And then he was like, my son set me up and he tried to kill me. And then the thing about the detective that I like, Detective Song, I like, it's funny, like the dynamic between her and like Chris's dad is funny because he's always like throwing racial jokes at her or whatever. Like he called, like, in the first episode he said something about chopsticks. He called her Lucy Liu at one point, and then she was just like, so that's like the only Asian person that He said that, like, I appreciate that your people invented noodles or whatever. But what's funny about it, it's not the insults that he's throwing at her. What makes it funny is that she never has a good comeback. And I'm like, you figure by now, like, she basically started calling him like other random white guys. And then she named like 3 people and she was like, I'm running out of white guys. And I'm like, no, you're not. I was like, no, you're not. But it's just it's very funny that she's just very bad with like, with the comebacks. But she's also a good detective and she does her job. So they reran the fingerprints. She found out that the fingerprints, in fact, did not match. And then they were just like, well, shit, now we got to let this racist piece of shit out of prison. But then the white guy that ended up speaking to Murr, who's also a butterfly himself, he stepped in and he made it so that the fingerprints matched again so they can keep the white dragon in prison because, like Murr said, we got to get the white dragon off the board because he could potentially ruin the whole situation. Detective Song, like, she knew that something fishy was up because she was like, I checked those prints myself and the prints do not match. But then the white guy, he was just like, listen, detective, like, like, why don't you go have a day off? Like, a murderous piece of shit is in prison, just let it go. But for some reason, despite the fact that he deserves to be in prison, justice wasn't being served, and she can't let that go. So she ends up going to her white uncle's house, who happens to be a judge, and she got her uncle to give her a search warrant to search Peacemaker's house, because now that she knows Peacemaker is the one that's behind all this and it's not the dad, she's basically trying to get to the true heart of the matter so justice can be served. So that's going to be her mission now. So she's going to be back in it, she's going to find her way back in it. Her partner ended up going with her, and I'm just like, well, I guess we going to ride or die. We going to ride it, because if I was a partner, I'd be like, I don't want no part of this shit. But, he's going to ride with her all the way until the end. And then after that, after everybody went home, to go celebrate, like a job well done, Adebayo was told earlier by Murr to plant Peacemaker's diary in his apartment, and I forgot why he asked her to do that, but when she drove him home, he asked her to come in for a drink, and then she said yes, because that would be the opportunity that she needs to hide the diary. Then there was a moment where, the two of them were drinking, they were getting along, they were having a good time. Chris had told her He's actually happy that she's there because he's never had like, you know, like real partnerships before and everything like that. And then he left to go to the bathroom. And then that's when she pulled out the diary and she was going to plant the diary in his house. But then she changed her mind and she took the diary back. But then she was going to put it there again. So we don't know if she actually put the diary in his house or if she changed her mind. So she, after she had the drinks and she spoke to him, she ends up going back to, you know, back to their secret hideout, and Murr is still there. And then when Murr asked her, he was like, what are you doing here at the office? And then she was just like, she had some things on her mind and she couldn't sleep. She even called her wife and told her wife that, listen, the job is really starting to get to me, because her morality is being compromised by the stuff that she's being asked to do. Plus she's like killing people, you know, well, she's shooting people after Peacemaker already kills them. But then, you know, in a moment where Peacemaker had left his helmet at the, you know, like at the office, she ends up putting the helmet on her head. And I'm like, here we go. She puts the helmet on her head. She activates the X-ray vision. She looks at Murr. She sees that Murr is a butterfly. And then she just like openly reacts to it, knowing damn well that he's a butterfly. He finds out, runs up on her, smacks her up in the middle of the street. And then I don't know if he killed her or whatever the situation may be. I don't know what's going to happen. And I feel like we're going to find out that Murr is part of a positive butterfly keeping force that's trying to save the planet, and there's another group of like evil butterflies that's trying to destroy the planet. I feel like there is a part of me that feels like Pardcore might be a butterfly. I feel like if she is a butterfly, I feel like she might be one of the evil butterflies and Murr might be one of the good butterflies. I don't know why I feel like I just have that feeling. There's just something about her and the way they portrayed her in this particular episode. It's making me feel like she might be a butterfly. I said, but we'll see as the weeks to come. And thank you for tuning in. So this was pretty interesting. You know, like I said, like now the whole thing about who's a butterfly, who's not a butterfly, will they, won't they? Butterflies being infiltrated on the team itself. Where does Amanda Waller play in all this? Like I said, this is getting good. We went from a comedic joke fest, I mean, to now we have moments of like we have moments of forced unnecessary comedy, but the storyline and the action part of the show is starting to filter through now, so it's actually turning into a really good show and not like the comedic BS that I thought it was. So like I said, thanks for tuning in. Hit me up on Twitter and Instagram. Share your thoughts on YouTube. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think of Peacemaker so far? What do you think, where do you think this is going? How do you think this whole thing plays out to the bigger, you know, like Suicide Squad picture, and where we go from there? Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. And if you're a fan of DC TV and Marvel TV, this is where you want to be. Because like I said, you know, we got Batwoman coming up. We got Legends of Tomorrow. We got Superman and Lois. We got Naomi. And we always got Peacemaker. So thanks for tuning in, guys. So we're still trying to keep the peace. And until next week, take care. And as always, I'm out this bitch.